People rarely run into things that are scary in the wild. Most animals and critters tend to avoid humans, and so most of us never see anything out of the ordinary. Despite this, there are some creatures out there that you'd be better off not meeting in a dark forest somewhere. With that said, join us as we look at 5 scary creatures you don't want to run into in the wild. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Brazilian Vampire Bat. Some people will say that there's no such thing as a vampire bat, and even others who know that the bat is indeed real will say that these types of bats won't bother humans. Scary vampire bat movies and stories aside, we're here to tell you that they're both real, and in fact, have been known to drink human blood. And as intimidating as that whole thing might sound, it is true that vampire bats aren't interested in biting and drinking human blood until recently. Many animals in the animal kingdom can survive easily on a broad diet and get nutrition from whatever animals and plants they can get to and what seems to be tasty at the time. Kinda like us when faced with the decision of McDonald's or Domino's Pizza, depending on which is quicker and easier to get at. However, the Brazilian vampire bat only drinks blood, and it's quite picky about what kind of blood it'll drink. And while some vampire bats will jump from one type or source of blood to another, Brazilian vampire bats go after birds. The hairy-legged creatures are actually bird specialists, and they can sneak up on a sleeping bird and make a small, razor-like incision and drink a spoonful of blood without disturbing the bird. That's pretty creepy stuff by itself. In fact, most vampire bats can sneak up on any sleeping creature and get takeout without the creature even knowing about it. What does this have to do with humans? Well, actually, quite a bit. Humans have started to invade their habitat by cutting down the forests of Caatinga in northeastern Brazil. The birds that bats would normally feast on are gone, replaced by, well, humans. So some researchers ran some tests on bat feces to find out what the bats have been eating. The researchers thought that they might find that the bats have been drinking blood of the animals that the humans brought along with them, such as sheep, goats, cows, and the other farm animals that were brought along with them. Some DNA analyses showed that the bats had been drinking chicken's blood, but the analyses showed something else that the researchers were very surprised to find: human blood. This is what happens when humans invade the territory of an animal species, and that in itself might not be surprising. This scary, hair-legged, web-winged, razor-toothed vampire bat can carry viruses and has been known to even carry the deadly hantavirus. Number 4. Golden Poison Dart Frog. Nature has a way of warning us when it comes to dangerous creatures, and the golden poison dart frog is one of those beautifully deadly creatures. They can be found in Central and South America in tropical rainforests where many species of the frogs thrive. You'll also find them in the Pacific River in western Colombia, and if you're ever traveling in these areas, you should be particularly careful as they live on the forest floor and are most active during the day. These little frogs hop all over and rarely sit still for even a moment. We might as well know a little bit about them before we tell you just how deadly these little frogs are and why it would probably be a little scary to run into one. They're usually golden yellow with some small black specks on their hind legs, but their color patterns can vary, and even wildly. The frog is a carnivore that eats other insects, and the tadpoles may even actually eat each other, and sometimes the unfertilized eggs from females. So they're brutal little cannibals as well. But now you're probably wondering why they're called golden poison dart frogs. With a name like that, you would think it's a little frog with a dart gun or something that could shoot a dart at you from its back or mouth. It actually gets its name from the native people of Colombia who catch and collect these and other brightly colored varieties of poison frogs. The people don't kill the frogs or even touch them, as doing so would likely prove fatal. In fact, some scientists believe that the secretions from the skin of the golden poison dart frog is so poisonous that 0.000004% of an ounce is more than enough to kill a human being. So the natives use the frog's poison by carefully and harmlessly rubbing their hunting darts and arrows with the poison. If somehow you touched one of these frogs and the poison got into your bloodstream, the toxin would immediately attack the nervous system and your muscles, and ultimately it would cause death by muscular paralysis and respiratory failure. And it wouldn't take but more than a few minutes depending on how much poison you were infected with. So, with that said, when Mother Nature shows you bright colors and beautiful bright markings on one of her creatures, that's a warning to keep your distance. Number 3. Black Mamba. Most snakes will have people running scared no matter how dangerous they might be. It could be because snakes just simply instill fear in human beings and probably have since the beginning of time. And while some snakes are completely harmless, like the smaller constrictor varieties that aren't poisonous but instead crush their prey to death, there are some snakes that use their highly powerful venom to paralyze and kill their prey before swallowing them whole. And when it comes to poisonous snakes, the black mamba is arguably the most venomous snake on the planet. But first, to avoid this creature, you have to know where it thrives. The home of the black mamba can be found on the continent of Africa in many different countries, and if you see one, it's best to run. There are probably some snake experts scoffing at that notion who will say that there's no reason to run from this snake, but the fact is that it's deadly poisonous, and that should be enough to avoid it at all costs. However, the snake is said to grow up to lengths of 14 feet, although it's not as big around as most constrictors. This 14 feet long, thin snake combination is deadly enough in itself because the black mamba is an aggressive and very fast-moving snake and has been known to chase people who happen to be in its territory. Just imagine being somewhere in Africa and seeing a 14-foot snake come flying out of the brush to attack you. The black mamba isn't actually black, and that might leave you puzzled as to why they have such a name. The snake is instead a sort of gray olive or brownish color. This color helps them blend into their surroundings so they can ambush prey. This camouflage also helps them from becoming dinner themselves, as they do have a few enemies of their own who love tasty snakes. We said the snake is very fast. How fast? Well, the black mamba can move up to 12.5 miles per hour over long distances. The average human can run 8 miles per hour, meaning that this thing would probably catch you if it wanted to. So where do they get their black mamba name from? It just so happens that the insides of their mouths are completely black, which is very unique for a snake. Even though the snake is very aggressive, they sometimes do take the chance to escape. However, if they feel threatened or backed into a corner, or they're protecting their nest, you can be sure they will move quickly to defend it. Number 2. Australian saltwater crocodile. As many people know, Australia is a place full of scary things in almost every place, whether it be on dry land or in the water. From the giant huntsman spider to the Portuguese man-o-war jellyfish, everywhere you look, there are dangers. But the most dangerous animal that you certainly don't want to run into is the saltwater crocodile. The earliest fossil evidence of the species dates back to 4.5 million years ago. Anything that's survived on the planet that long must have a good reason for it. Well, the reason is that the crocodile's actually a very good hunter, and they can be found all over Australia. They are the largest known reptiles in the world and can weigh as much as 1,000 kilograms, with some males able to reach up to 7 meters long but average around 5 meters. It's more than big enough to take down a large buffalo or bison that gets too close to the water, and their jaws can exert several tons of pressure, easily snapping bones in two. The Australians call them salties, even though their name is misleading as they can live in freshwater just as well as brackish waters. The saltwater crocodile is dangerous, and there have been many reports of humans being eaten or otherwise attacked by these creatures. One place in Australia that's famous for these types of unfortunate accidents is a place called Cahill's Crossing. It seems that humans like to take chances with danger when it comes to this place. Each year, Cahill's Crossing, which is a road that goes over East Alligator River, floods, and crocodiles gather here because the road traps fish, which are easy prey for the crocs. Never mind that the river's named after alligators, but is filled with crocodiles. Each year, people attempt to cross the submerged road in their vehicles to make it to the other side. Instead, a lot of these vehicles, along with their occupants, end up being washed into the river, essentially becoming a possible dinner. And speaking of fish, people also decide this is a good time to break out the tackle and try to catch a few fish of their own, and instead become the prey of a hungry crocodile. And in 1987, a crocodile decided to take a man's head off while he and his friends were fishing. It happened in an instant and is one of the more famous attacks. But he wasn't the first, and surely isn't gonna be the last, since it seems like human nature to push the envelope. Number 1. Brazilian wandering spider. Ah, spiders. It would probably be blasphemy to have a scary creatures list without one of these 8-legged freaks as part of that list. The The Brazilian wandering spider is a deadly venomous spider and has even held a record in Guinness World Records as being rated the most venomous spider. Aside from this fact, the spider is fiercely aggressive, as can be seen in the video, standing up on its back legs and putting its front legs forward, looking ready to attack. This is why they're also called armed spiders. There are 8 different species of this spider, of which all can be found in Brazil. Actually, they're called wandering spiders because they wander from the forest floor in search of prey as a hunting spider instead of building a web and catching their prey like other spiders. The spider's venom is a very complex cocktail of toxins, and if a human is bitten, they will experience severe burning pain at the bite itself, along with sweating and goosebumps. Within a half hour, the symptoms can become worse, which include low or high blood pressure, irregular heartbeat, nausea, stomach cramps, vertigo, blurred vision, and convulsions. Couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong. If a Brazilian wandering spider bites a human male, they can expect a long, painful erection because the venom boosts nitrous oxide in the bloodstream, which increases blood flow. However, the spider's not known to inject all of its venom, as it only injects enough to immobilize its prey. With that said, you'd have to make it really mad and probably have it bite you several times in order for it to become fatal. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, Americano, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There'll be a link in the description, so check it out, as well as our other cool